Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching episode 3 of Miss Marvel. Now, after the revelation with the first 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, it seems very much that it's diverting from the source material at this point. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, as it does manage to bring a new concept to the MCU, that being the presence of the Djinn. But let's get to the story, shall we? Basically, Kamran is part of this group of interdimensional beings known as the Djinn, who are apparently connected to that bangle that Kamala has. Apparently they want her help to try and find a way to get back home, and they've been around for over 100 years, given that they were able to initially find the bangle back in the 1940s, in British-occupied India, in fact. So, while Kamala is dealing with her brother Amir's wedding, it seems very much so that she's being pulled in multiple directions, not only with the federal agents continuing to search for her, but also with the fact that these Djinn happen to be less... They happen to be less friendly than they'd expect, especially considering the Djinn attack Kamala at the actual wedding. The wedding scene was actually pretty fun for what it was, considering that I'm obviously not part of the Muslim type of religion, but I am interested in finding out some of their practices, and it was nice to see a bit of that as well as to just have a fun dance scene in the wedding and the reception afterwards, complete with a band known as Brown Jovi, yes, that is their actual name, playing some music. On top of that, the fight scene is actually done to the song Living on a Prayer, which, of course, I'm a big fan of. And considering the amount of dad rock that's been in the MCU ever since the early days, it seems pretty fitting that they'd use that song at some point. I just didn't expect it to be in Miss Marvel, of all things. Plus, all the Djinn have their own weapons that seem to be able to be generated based on will. One of them has a spear. One of them has a belt that he uses like a whip, and Kamala is just starting to get used to her powers, so she's of course overwhelmed by these Djinn. Now, when it comes to my knowledge of the Djinn beforehand, I really only knew them from the anime series Magi, but this is quite different from that. In fact, the series has always had its roots in the Muslim traditions, and to the point where Yusuf even reads this document that's apparently written in Urdu about them. And therefore, the Djinn seem to be like a Marvelized version of that. You know, taking parts from folklore in that respect, but also adding their own spin on it. So far, I like it, and even though it's not exactly from the comics, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. So, now that we're 3 episodes in, we have 3 episodes to go. I have no idea where the story's going, but I'm interested in seeing how these Djinn fit into everything, and hopefully they end up as the more interesting villains here rather than the federal agents. That would have been just lame. Let's see what happens. See you next time.